The proximity tool in HawkEye is a fairly handy anti-collision tool that can be turned on and left on at all times. In this example set of wells, we see a number of highly unusual wells that will actually demonstrate really well how the proximity tool works. To activate the proximity tool, click on this tab here and then turn on proximity, and then you'll have to choose one of three different kinds of distances. If I turn on true distance, it will scan all nearby curves within 1,000 feet. I can choose any of these scanning radiuses to limit my results. True distance is the advisable type of distance to scan for, since it will account for the least distance from center to center on any two given curves. The normal distance will draw a perpendicular line to all adjacent curves, and in some angles the distance might be misleading. As you can see here, the difference between a true minimum and the normal plane proximity is rather large. The TVD type distance will draw a horizontal line to each nearby well along the TVD plane. With proximity turned on, anywhere you move in the 3D space, the proximity lines will be redrawn. You will see that the proximity to the nearest curve will be displayed in black on the 3D space. By left-clicking on a given proximity bar in the 3D space, you will get a proximity data card that can be moved around and will update even when you move the lookout point. This proximity data includes a separation factor based on a sigma number that can be set by right-clicking on the background in the 3D space and then selecting well display properties and changing the number here. Note that this proximity tool is different from the sight, which is a less data-intensive passive metric for nearby wells. Proximity can also be displayed with a ladder plot under this tab, in which a reference curve is your current look-at curve. You set a max scanning distance and then check which of the curves you want to compare with. By hitting refresh, you populate the ladder plot. By double-clicking on the ladder plot, you can get a larger view of the chart as well as a legend at the very bottom. The dotted line for each curve represents the closer boundary of the ellipse of uncertainty for that curve. The very bottom here, noted by 0, represents the reference curve. As the curves above it get closer to 0 or lower, then the closer you are to a collision. You can also display proximity in terms of alerts. Under this tab, you have a criticality of 1 through 5, 1 being the safest and 5 being the most dangerous. And by selecting the criticality that you wish to display, you will see all curves within that criticality rating, as well as the actual distance and the separation factor. A ladder plot can be produced as a report in both the criticality report and the anti-collision report. For both of these reports, the ladder plot acts as the first cover page of that report. It is recommended to use the landscape mode for ladder plots. You may also produce up, down, left, right proximity in a report by going to Survey and adding the up, down, left, right columns in your current columns. Note that if you have selected a plan or proposal curve, your up, down, left, rights will not display in your reports. You have to be in a work curve, and it will compare against your current proposal curve. Also notice that your proximities in this report will be cardinal directions to a certain inclination, and then it will switch to up, down, left, right. You can set this inclination threshold in the main screen by going to the site editor, either by right-clicking on the site and choosing site editor, or by clicking the site editor button in the home ribbon, and then setting the magnetic versus high side threshold here. Note that under proximity, you will also see an up, down, left, right threshold change to cardinal direction at a low enough inclination. And this too is based on that threshold that you set in the site editor.